Welcome back to the Source Garage. Today I'm reviewing the MYCHANIC creeper. This is the fourth creeper I've done now in my creeper review series. And so what I'm going to do today is break down all the dimensions, the aspects and features of this entire design here and everything that it does, so to speak, and what comes with it and how you can use it. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff on the table here. So polisher, cleaners, different size bottles, different shape bottles, wax applicators, other wheel cleaning tools and whatnot to show you what it all actually looks like on here. So if you were considering buying this, you know if what you have would fit on here and work the way you want it to, basically. So first thing to do is get all the dimensions here. So start with the dimensions. Let's do the length here, and I'll kind of hold the tape measure in front here so you can see roughly. So about 24 inches across height, about 18 inches with the seat here, without the seat looking at probably 17. And then across, I'll go the widest point on the bucket is about 16.5 inches, and up here about 18 inches. And then on the back side, let me turn this around so you can see that. Got a cup holder that sticks out another couple inches on the side here that could be a drink holder. Now the bucket itself inside here is 10 inches across. And if I go all the way down to let me take out this guard here, tell you how deep it is. About 10.5 inches deep, a little less than that. And obviously it comes with this grit guard in here. You can take this off and you have these little trays on the bottom, about 9 inches across at the top, 7.5 in the bottom here, 10.5 in the bottom, 12 inches on the top here. So you get these little trays, these are identical, that are on either side here. Have this that pops right off. This is a dense kind of plastic foam. I'm not sure, I'm not a materials major, but it's very hard. It's not super comfortable to sit on. We'll get into more into that later. It pops onto these 4 little pegs here. Smack it into place, no problem. So the other thing to talk about, got 5 casters on the bottom here. These are small casters. On the exact size, I'm going to guess like 3 inches. Yeah, 3-inch casters. And if you want to see what the bottom looks like, there it is. It comes in kind of 2 parts. You have to attach on one of these kind of U shapes into another one, and then they have brackets that hold it together here. So I think that covers everything dimensionally here. Oh, maybe you'd want to know exactly the seat. Across 9.5 by about 13.5 on the seat. And it's 2 inches thick. Okay, now that that's done, talk about the features and design of this overall. So I've used it with the bucket, without the bucket. These trays down here on the bottom are actually pretty nice when you want to use like a polisher. That's a problem I've had with some of the other creepers, is the size of the bottom not being large enough to kind of hold on to a polisher. So of course I buried it here when I was getting everything out to demonstrate this. So this is a full-size Rupes LHR 13 Mark III. So if you're going around polishing, this will fit under here nicely. Actually rare for most of the creepers to hold the whole thing so nicely and be able to get to it easily. You could put your polishers in here. Obviously you wouldn't have this cable on here, so to speak. So if this is hanging off, this sits here nicely. There's a lot of space here for all of this stuff to be put when you're not using the bucket. Now, some of the taller things like this are not going to fit under here. So it's just too big. You don't have enough clearance. And if you're wondering what that clearance is, that would probably be another good dimension to know. About 10.5 inches. So I really do like the trays here, giving you a whole lot of space. They're very sturdy. You can put a lot of stuff in here. Now, if you go over a lot of bumps in your garage or wherever you're working with this thing, they obviously can fall over just like that. There's nothing holding them in unless you want to use the bucket. And you could put the bucket on here and throw everything in there to help with that. So that's another good feature there as well. Got your little soda holder on the side here, which I wish was just slightly bigger. If it could hold like the compound, that would be awesome, but close, no cigar. But if I put the bucket back on here, like I just talked about, you could set all of these in here and protect your products from falling out that way, which is great. Now it does come with a grit guard in the bottom here, or grit guard type device, which if you've seen my grit guard series, this kind of design really isn't going to do much of anything. to actually help keep particles or contaminants in the bottom. They're going to come right back through these holes if you're pumping a mitt up and down. So this is kind of useless, other than it's just a tray that sits in here off the bottom. But the bucket itself is nice to have if you want to scoot around and do something like a rinseless wash. I mean, I would prefer a different bucket with a proper grit guard like the Detail Guard's Dirt Lock, but this is just something you could use and it would work just fine. Now, one of the best parts of this creeper is the edges here along the bucket and the seat. And for that, hanging products off of here is really good. Now, some people I know have been afraid to kind of hang stuff off the edges here because you could be putting a lot of pressure on the sprayers that are underneath here. So I would be a little bit careful and exercise some caution and not be slamming these down constantly, or you're just asking for one of these heads to break off. But it is super handy that you can hang the stuff off the side here. And when we look at something like the bucket here, if you have a bunch of, let's say, like wheel detailing brushes, little boar's hairs things, these fit in here nicely as well. So I really do like this design along the bucket, that there's a lot of room for storing, hanging things. I got like wheel woolies that you can kind of cram into the side there, and they just sit there. So you could have this as like a dedicated, let's say like wheel detailing cart possibly, and have all your stuff ready to go here. I wish there was some way to have maybe like, let's say like hooks across the sides. So if I had stuff with like little holes in it, I could hang it somewhere, but maybe I'm asking a bit too much. This kind of handle will not fit into these holes. It's just a little bit too big. But again, you could, if you really want to, just stick your brush in there just like that, and it sits in there no problem. Last thing I want to talk about, so if you have any lights like this, so this is a Astro 50 SL, is that? Yeah, 50 SL max light. I use a whole lot instead of something like a scan grip that costs way more than this, but it's magnetic, so it sticks in my tray here. So if I'm going around doing polishing, this can be super handy if I want to stick it here, bend it back, and now I have a nice light that is moving around with the cart and I can angle. If you just don't want to have like a separate light on a stand that you're moving around, if you're just a weekend warrior type person, this can be helpful to have this kind of setup here. So I think that about covers it for all the features. Let me check my notes here real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything. Bucket, cashers, yep, record. Oh, last thing I would talk about is the edge on this. So I talked about this on a couple other creepers, like the Adams. You have to be conscious when you're going around a vehicle of what's the, I guess, like the worst case of something happening. This rolling away, especially on the back side here where I don't have this cup holder sticking out, this edge here could hit your car, right? Or whatever you're working on and do some damage. This is a metal edge. So I would recommend getting something to cover up this edge here and help protect yourself from something like that happening if you're working. Wouldn't be so worried about this being plastic, but putting something along the edge here, you could get some like trim piece or insulation just to wrap around and make sure you're being safe when you're working here. Oh, and just to demonstrate, yes, the cup holder works for a little 12-ounce can and holds it pretty well in there. All right, so now for an actual demonstration, let me get it on the ground and roll it around a little. All right, so here's a demonstration of this. You can see the sitting angle that I'm at here is kind of a, I guess, okay height for me. I'd like it to be a little bit higher possibly, and I wish this was adjustable, but this is the angle I'm sitting at. I'm about 6'3", and I think my butt's about the exact same height as my knees roughly, so my legs are at a 90-degree angle if you're wondering how you would sit on this exactly. And it's pretty easy to move around on thanks to it having 5 wheels. Now, go over the crack I have in my garage here. And it covers it pretty easily. The fact that it has 5 wheels instead of 4, even though there are only 3, creates more points to distribute the weight. So it moves around pretty well. And you can see everything hanging on all right here. And it does move and rotate pretty smoothly. So I do like that about it. Now, if you want to see how it would look like to reach back, grab all the stuff sitting this way, you can turn around and obviously sit on the sides here, although this gets a little bit, I guess, awkward, so to speak, especially if I have something like this sticking up, like I probably wouldn't be able to use that there. I'd have to put it somewhere else, but you can easily reach everything on your sides here. It's not hard to grab stuff underneath, on the side, grab a drink, whatever. And it's nice to have the little bucket here in front of you to reach into if I was going around and working on the car. Now, all of this is great in that it's really functional. It's a functional detailing cart. It's got a lot of holders, it's got a lot of versatility to it and what it can do. It's got a big tray. You can take the bucket off, like I said, and use it without the bucket, which is the main way I've used it so far in getting around the garage. And using this as just a big tray here. But, and I gotta call this out as my biggest gripe as I've had it with some of the other things, and that's the seat. So, this seat here, being a very hard plastic, is not comfortable to sit on. And that's the killer for me with this thing, is that after I've tried to use it for an hour or two before, going around cleaning a car and working in the garage, and it's just not comfortable. I feel like I'm gonna have a MYCHANIC imprint on my butt after I'm done with this thing, and it just is not comfy to sit on. And when you pop this off and they're like, oh, you can use it on the floor here as well, look how nice that is. I mean, it's better than concrete, but again, I'm not gonna say it's comfortable, especially when I compare it to, I actually have a foam floor pad that cost, I think, like 10, 15 bucks off Amazon. That'd be way more comfortable and larger and I'd reach for before I tried to use this. So it's better than nothing, but I'm absolutely not gonna say it's a comfortable and great solution, especially when I compare it to something like the Traxion. Let me grab that real quick. When you look at a seat like this and you compare the two, like this is nice, plush, soft, it's comfortable to sit in, it doesn't hurt my butt to sit in here, versus this hard plastic. I mean, it's night and day, and that's why this is still my daily driver, so to speak, even though this isn't nearly as functional. I wish I could combine the two somehow and get the functional ability with all the storage and the use of this with the comfy seat here. I mean, you could buy a gel foam pad and slap it on top, but such is life, at least for right now. So that's the deal breaker for me with this, is this seat is just not comfy for me to sit on for any extended amount of time. So I have to use something else. So let me go back to the table and do some conclusions here. All right, so to wrap this up here, what do I think about the MYCHANIC? Well, of all the creepers I've reviewed, the Wen, the very basic one, the Adams, the Traxion, this is by far the most functional and practical of all of them with the design. It's very well thought out, I think, from a utilization standpoint. And as I've kind of walked through everything with hanging bottles, spots for brushes, the bucket, the trays underneath, the fact that the bucket's removable, it's got 5 casters instead of 4, it moves well. If this had a comfy seat, this would be my favorite creeper right now. Even though it's not height adjustable, I really like the height adjustability for moving around a car, getting to higher, lower places, getting to like the bottom of wheels or the bottom edge of a car that sits really low. It doesn't go as low as something like the Traxion, or obviously up and down, there's no spring in here. So it is a really good creeper. It's about $110, $115 on Amazon. It's in the same ballpark as the Traxion, a little bit more than the Adams or Griot's creeper, whatever you want to call it. So I think I've been calling it the Adams this whole time, and I think it actually was the Griot's, even though they're the exact same thing, but whatever. So it's in that ballpark of over $100. It's very functional, it's very nice. I'd recommend getting something to put on top of here so that it's actually more comfy to sit on. But from a utilization standpoint, it is extremely nice. So that's my review of this thing. I do these kind of breakdowns all the time. If you haven't been around the channel much, this is the 4th creeper I've reviewed here. I do all kinds of other scientific breakdowns. If you want to subscribe to the channel, I throw all my money at testing 20, 30, 50 of the different variety of the same kind of product to show you what's the best, what's the differences, and what you should or shouldn't spend your money on. So please consider subscribing to help support the channel, help me. And if you enjoyed the comment, leave a like, comment below, tell me what you think, and thanks for watching.